Hey guys, Sean here from Srkcycles, and what we have here is a 2009 Suzuki M90, one of the baddest import bikes to come out. Do the intro. So the Suzuki Boulevard line has kind of two different sides to it. On one side you got the M, so you have the M50, and then you have the M109R, and then smack dab right in the middle, not really right in the middle, more close to the M109R, is the M90. Now you also have the other side of it, and that would be the more cruiser style, you know, not as aggressive, the pegs are not as far up, they're more back here, more for like a touring type of bike, comes with a windshield and bags, and that would be the C50, the C90, and the C109R. The M is a little bit more aggressive, a little more sporty, and you can see how, you know, it's a very laid back, more of like drag bar setup when it comes to riding these things. This is a 90 cubic inch motor with a 5-speed transmission, weighing in at 723 pounds. When the M109 came out, it was a pretty big deal. It was a big splash. People really loved it, but the market really demanded for something a little bit cheaper. It still has a big punch. It's not as powerful as the M109R, you know, about 20 cubic inches less of less of a motor. One of the problems with the M109R was the giant monstrosity of a back tire, which one is it's expensive to replace, and two, it didn't really handle very well with that huge tire. That's why actually a lot of people like the C109R even better, because it had a smaller, you know, touring tire and actually handled pretty well. The M90 has a 200 rear tire and is actually going to handle pretty well. Now, one of the first things you notice when you look or when you hop on one of these things is just how massive of a bike this is. Look how wide the tank is. It's probably one of the biggest, widest tanks you're ever going to see on a bike, other than like a Boss Hoss or something like that. It is a very massive, substantial bike, big old wide seat, and when you get to a certain point in your riding life, that's what you want to ride. You want to ride a big, massive, substantial bike. So it's 5-speed, it's shaft driven, it's got a big, powerful V-twin, it's awesome looking, it's comfortable. What more do you want? One of the things that if people complain about this bike, and it was the same thing with the M109 and a lot of times the C50, is the biggest complaint is just the transmission. They say it's a little bit clunky. It's whatever. It's not the smoothest transmission I've ever rode. It's not the worst transmission I've ever rode. It's just one of those things, you get over it, you get used to it. These are great bikes, and at $3,100 cheaper from MSRP than the M109, it really was a great deal. When these things came out, they were right at $10,000. We just sold this one for $5,900. It's an awesome bike. It's a beautiful bike. I love the styling of it. Let's go do the test drive. All right, guys, do the test drive. But first, let's do the words of wisdom. Luke 22:19, and when he had taken some bread and given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." What this is talking about is, and this is very appropriate for today. Today is the Thursday before Good Friday, which in the church calendar we call Monday Thursday, and that was during the Passover meal, and that is why the church does communion, because Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me," and that's what we do. That also called the Eucharist. All right, guys, let's do the test drive. Yo, look at that guy. All right, so like I said, this is a fun bike to ride, and it really it's kind of like that big import hot rod bike, but not going all the way. It's like, all right, think about it this way. If the M109R is the Hellcat, this is like the Scat Pack. Maybe that's a good way to look at it. So the big giant wide tank for the import bikes is fairly new in the past like 2-decade phenomenon. It was very normal for the import bikes to have really skinny tanks, and then when the Boulevard line changed from the S to like the M and the C line, that's when they started doing the big old fat wide tanks. And I love it. I think it's an awesome look. Although some people, it might look like the more narrow tanks is coming back and the fat tanks is going out. I don't think so. but it could be looking that way. This bike also has these cool little crash bars, so if you do drop the bike, you're not gonna mess up your pegs or your shifters or something. And it's a nice little windshield that I'm feeling wind up here, but not down here. So that might be enough wind hitting my helmet that's not gonna like buff it when I'm on the highway. We will see. Only time will tell. But like I was saying about that rear tire, I mean, this thing is nimble for a big like 740-pound bike. When I want to throw it in the corners, it really just goes way more so than that big giant M109, which is basically more of like a drag race bike. Big 109 is more it's set up to be a full-blown drag race bike. You know, ultimate power cruiser. Love riding them. But this has that same essence, but what it adds to it is, you know, it's got a little more you know, performance in the corners, which I think is super cool. Up here, I'm just gonna get up the speed limit real quick. Just hitting that speed limit. There we go, 35, all right. We're there. It's beautiful outside. Today's gonna be a beautiful day. Harrison just told me it's gonna hit the 70s. It's a perfect day for riding motorcycle. So who can ride this bike? Who is this a good bike to buy? Honestly, if you feel comfortable on it, if you feel comfortable on this bike, on a bike this size, and you know how to ride, just get it. Smaller guys won't feel comfortable on it if they're not confident in their riding abilities. Now you might have a bigger guy who's like, oh yeah, the weight is nothing, and you know, he'll jump on it. Now if you're a smaller guy and you've been riding some other bike and you're confident in your throttle response and your clutch and everything and your balance, yeah, just hop on it, man. It's a great bike. This has a pretty big wide range of people who could ride it. It's just the size might be a deterrent to some people because it is a larger, heavier bike. But like every bike that I've ever ridden, when you're riding it, you don't notice the size when you're riding it. You know, it's just when you're stopped. Tires are going to be a lot cheaper to replace than the M109 are. You gotta appreciate the simplicity of some bikes. In the same way, you gotta appreciate all the cool gadgets on other bikes. But when you jump on a bike like this and it literally has 5 buttons on it and you only need 2 of them, honestly, I could just get by with just using 1. That's the start button. It kind of brings you back to what riding motorcycles was all about, just this raw form of transportation where it's not that much about the bike, it's more about you and the elements. It's more you and the wind. If it was all about the bike, then it'd be cool just you sitting on the bike, with the bike just sitting in your living room, you know? But it's not about the bike. It's about the experience that the bike gets you to experience. I'm 6'2". There's fairly large risers stock on this bike, so the bars pretty much come to me. I'm not quite straight up and down like I would be on like an ultra classic. Now if I had longer arms, I'm straight up and down now, but you see where my hands are. I can't really ride like this. I gotta be more like this. So I'm a little more bent over, like I'm sitting on like a muscle, like a V-Rod muscle, or a little more of a, you know, a sportier bike, kind of like drag bars, but not that much bent over that it's you know, I'm putting weight on my wrist like if it was on a sport bike. All right, guys, that wraps up this video. Do not forget to subscribe, and if you're interested in buying some M1 Moto gloves or the tank straps or any of our products, just check out one of the links below. M1 Moto gloves. The only gloves that stop bullets when people are shooting bullets at you. Do not use, disclaimer, do not use these gloves to stop bullets. They might not work, but they are lined with Kevlar though.